Hello and welcome. I am Trombone, no vowels, and today I'm going to do the impossible. And I'm going to start doing the impossible by telling you a bold-faced lie. In some sense. A lot of people have been asking me for my political views. That's the lie. Nobody has. I haven't been doing content for months. No one really gives a shit at this point. It's easy because I keep up on it, and it's really easy to converse with daily when I do make content. And regardless, that's the lie. But it's still a question that I have had a lot of difficulty answering. And I think it's because it is so impossible. My political views have adapted to something that's so hard to sit behind a camera and be able to represent in the way that I mean them. It's damn near impossible, but we're going to try. I set up an entire rough draft, which I had to throw away. While it made some points that I would like to cover, there were some that I entirely missed the mark on. Obviously, you didn't see the original, so this entire intro is all words. All of it. Something we hate seeing over and over from our elected officials. But that leads into my first point. I want to start with why I left out the word leader and went with elected officials. Leaders are more than people standing at a podium telling us what is right, what is wrong, what we should and what we shouldn't do. Leaders are people who take advice and experiences of those around them and make a decision that is best not only to look good or to make a convenient political quip, not to own anyone or insist that without input that their way is obviously the best way. Leaders in America, this country, are about representing people that think the person they endorse to make decisions for them not only make them for, but with them. But Trumps, we live in more of a republic than a democracy. A question I want to ask genuinely, is when did we give that word so much power? When did we go from there are so many decisions to make every single day? How can we possibly respond to every single one without disrupting our lives while still living a meaningful life? How can we go from that straight to frothing at the mouth, backing candidates cycle after cycle that know so much don't even respond to an email, that not only ignore our input but also tell us how we're supposed to feel? How we're supposed to react to things. Go another step further and tell us not only how we feel, how we're supposed to react, but how everyone else does as well. Now we're at our neighbors' throats, shutting down conversations rather than discussing anything, because these people who have fallen out of touch with the people they're supposed to represent are making their jobs easier by telling those same people who gave them the seat how to feel and what to think. Does the media make this easier? And honestly, I'm probably going a little softball. Does media make this easier? No. You think you're going to get this objective truth, this hearkening back. But the reality is there was never enough context able to fit into a segment to get that truth. We have that truth right now. And we're beginning to realize that it's something that we never really wanted. Because the real truth is made up of so much more than one person or two people or a small group of people telling us what happened. We have accounts. We have days on days of accounts. In some instances, of things that happen, different perspectives, all that create a comprehensive picture that is, in essence, truth. But truth is nuanced, and we can't get it back. We're beyond it. Truth now does not mean what it used to, and to hearken back and try and get that is to give over things that make this country great. We have platforms beyond anyone's reckoning. We have platforms that couldn't be imagined 60, 70 years ago. And we give that up when we ask a small group of people for the truth we used to have. They'll give it to us. It sells, it's easy, people want to hear it, and it's great for ad space. They will give it to us. What we need to realize is that context, now that we have it in the age of information, is more important than it ever was. Listening, keeping our eyes and ears open at all times, not only skeptical of everything, but knowing what to rely on. To know that a comprehensive picture is going to include things that we know and want to hear, things that we don't know and don't want to hear. There are people that we can't consider when we live our lives. And that's normal, and that's not really something to be ashamed of. What to be ashamed of is to not consider, say that you never have to consider, and that you in your life is somehow more important than anyone else's. Because your life plus their life plus every life around you is the one that makes up the truth. The one that's going to make history incredibly hard to write from now on. Because the context around every event is so much more than it ever was. Media doesn't make it easier. At all. Sometimes you think you're getting intellectually honest opinion with statements to invoke thoughts and discussion, but that doesn't sell. Gimmicky bullshit which catchy short slogans sells. Half-baked, cherry-picked data that has no real analysis sells. It gets those ads, gets those clicks. It's fun, right? Gives that dopamine hit. Maybe not only can you make yourself sound superior, but show that your ideas have merit because one or two of them are the same as that someone that seems to make that argument in a better way. And because they said one or two things that you agree with, now their entire platform, everything that they have to say, falls in unison with what you want to say. Because you never stop to consider what you really believe. How that changes when new information presents itself. Those one or two things, you'll never experience them in daily life. Those are easy policy commitment because it requires nothing from the leaders and lends them enough credibility with you to make decisions that do affect you in your day-to-day. Your neighbor's day-to-day. And politics is a representation of daily lives, as many constituents as possible, but also discussions to be had about daily life and what that will look like for future generations. Politics is ongoing. It's more than a single word descriptor, more than a single issue, more than a single bill or proposal, more than who sits where, and more than disagreeing to look cool or edgy. School, transportation, safety and security, not only in the military and police sense, but the safety at your job and the security of knowing that if that safety is breached, you have something to survive with. Yeah, taxes. Fuck, they suck. Everyone thinks so. It's not partisan. People don't like taxes. People don't like giving it up, right? We earned that. But we don't want to tax anybody, right? Because while we feel it, people with much more than us feel it too. Corporations can't be people because they can't feel it. They don't feel what $50 more, how that changes your diet, your living situation. The clothes you have, how warmly you're able to dress. Corporations can't feel that. Yeah, just like you, they have to figure out how their budget's going to change, but the things that change in their budget are a lot less impactful than what you're changing on the day-to-day. I mean, there's more. Being able to know what's in our food, knowing if it's going to be poisoned, the ability to take out money from a bank, that same hard-earned money that gets taxed, to be able to take that from a bank, even if the bank is having a problem. Daily life. It's something that gets lost in the discussion because those discussions are hard. That if something is to ever be done to change daily life, it would take a lot of work, get changed and debated relentlessly. That much work makes it hard to maintain an office. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my politics is wrong, because when I look around, it seems like politics is who sits in what chair and who can stay in one the longest. The color of the seat being far more important than the ideas coming from it. More important than the voices of many represented in one. These aren't my politics. They haven't been, they won't be. And if that changes, I will be sure to let you know. Politics like that lead to decisions no one asked for, and later defended by telling us what everyone thinks about them before having those discussions with those people. Before finding out what those decisions mean to those around us, getting us all into the mindset of winning and losing. A mindset of changing minds rather than listening to what those minds believe in the first place. I think we tend to have this really strange bias, and that's to remember the best of history. I mean, it is written by the winners, right? With that being said, we miss voices in history that we end up neglecting in the present. It's a very nuanced us versus them that has somehow managed to slither its way into culture, daily life, and eventually snowball its way into politics. A bias that is not only strong, but so casual. It's a catchphrase that I'm sure I'm not the only person to hear or echo in some fashion. And I know this is all about politics, but politically and just morally, that's a little fucking messed up, right? Because losers and winners both have something to say. Wins and losses never happen in the same way. Mistakes happen in daily life. Our own personal losses. Not to mention the losses that we actually do encounter. And we can't just learn from our own mistakes, but we can learn from everyone's mistakes. And sometimes loss isn't a mistake, but that doesn't mean there's still not something to be learned from it. And if we start deciding who the winners and losers are now, what the narrative's gonna be now, then not only have we missed voices, but we will continue to miss voices. Telling people what they believe and how they will react to something leads us nowhere. And that's what we all feel, right? When we feel like everything is out of our control. When we feel like there's some secret agenda behind all of this, right? The things that lead us to be more open to conspiracies than ever. It's because we ask them for it. We ask these people, the media, the people in charge of us, not the media, but the two groups, the people in charge of us, what the truth is. They'll tell you. They will tell you. And it'll be far from the whole comprehensive truth. Truth is listening and growth. Figuring out if what you believe today is something that you want to believe tomorrow. Figuring out if who you are now is who you will be in the end. Voices can be heard loudly. I hope that I've discussed this, but we all have a platform far greater than we could have, and that anyone 70 years could have ever imagined. The amount of people we can reach in the amount of time is exponential. So I say again, voices can be heard and loudly. Some that haven't or shouldn't or couldn't because they were lies, dishonest, or hateful and violent. It's up to us to think to ourselves if how we're using our platform and how we're conducting ourselves in daily life match up. If it differs, to ask why. And if it's the same, determine if we're done growing. If those are the ideas that we are willing to die keeping. And there are definitely some to every person that are worth dying to keep and keeping until death. I don't believe that liberty, justice, life, the pursuit of happiness, all of it for all is still out of reach. And I believe that when we achieve it, all is going to actually mean all for the first time. And I don't think that's going to happen from closed ears and changing people's minds. We don't talk politics or religion. We do it to try to avoid fights for people that will never change their minds. But that's our problem. We band-aided something that needed a tourniquet. It's not people that don't want to change their minds. It's that those discussions should never go in with the intention of wanting to change a mind. Maybe in the back of your head. But that's not listening. You don't learn anything from that, and they don't learn anything from that. Nobody gets anything. Everyone gets more rutted where the fuck they are, and nothing gets done. You think our politics are supposed to reflect anything different? How are people ever going to be able to listen to your ideas if you present them as the full and holistic truth? Something that's so undeniable you can't believe they can't believe it. We need to go into those conversations to listen and hope that when we speak, we're listened to. Not to convince someone they're wrong, but to give them a new perspective. Maybe they haven't considered it. Allowing for that change and that growth, that mindset shift to happen naturally. We do it. We're social creatures. It happens. We all have the capacity to take new information, ponder on it, and become a slightly different person than when we went in. Why are we trying to speed that up? I get it. It's going to be speeded up naturally because information, again, is just so damn accessible to some, many, not all. Hell, maybe I answered nobody's question on what my political views are. But I didn't make this to give an elevator pitch to someone that they could feel good about. A box checked, a person sorted. I made this so when people ask what my political views are, they realize it's the start of a discussion and not trying to find the end of one.